All right, so get this. Quantum tech, right. We know it's huge, but this thing out of China, it's something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a tiny chip. Can you believe it?
Hmm.
It can do quantum entanglement.
Yeah.
Like, they're manipulating reality on a microscopic scale.
You're not kidding. It's a potential, uh, I'd say, a leap forward, really. What gets me is that they've managed continuous variable quantum entanglement.
Continuous variable.
It's different. Instead of using the usual zeros and ones, it's like they're using the brightness of light, the wave pattern, that sort of thing.
There's no more bulky equipment. They've squeezed it all onto one chip.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what that means, right? Like often miniaturization, that's the key. It's how we take stuff from the lab out into the world.
So this could be like the tipping point.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Makes the whole thing more affordable, more reliable, easier to scale up.
Okay. But what's in it for, like, the average person?
Well, imagine, right? Online banking, your medical records, even just, a conversation, all unhackable. That's the promise, quantum cryptography.
So it's more than just, like, faster computers.
Absolutely. It's changing how we think about security, about privacy online, the whole thing.
Wow.
And it's not just about security either, right? Quantum computing, it could revolutionize, well, everything. Drug discovery, materials, the works.
Really?
We're talking solving problems, the kind that would take regular computers billions of years. I mean, maybe more.
This is a lot to process. So how did China pull this off? I know they've been pouring resources into this research for years.
Yeah, you're on top of it. They launched that Metis satellite back in 2016.
Right, beaming those entangled photons down from space.
Massive project. This new chip, it's like they took those concepts, miniaturized them, more powerful, potentially easier to deploy.
So China's leading the pack in this quantum race, huh? What does that mean for everyone else?
Well, it's a wake-up call for sure. The U.S., Europe, they're investing heavily, but China, they're setting the pace.
What is it about using photons, the light particles, that makes them so good for this kind of entanglement?
Well, for one, incredibly fast, right? The speed of light.
Makes sense.
And less prone to those errors than other quantum systems. Plus, they integrate easily with our, fiber optic networks.
So we're not talking like distant future stuff.
Right. This could plug into what we already have.
That's incredible.
It is. The transition to a quantum-powered world, it could happen, well, faster than we think.
It all sounds amazing, but I'm sure there are challenges. What hurdles are we still facing?
Oh, absolutely. Making these chips reliably and on a large scale, that's a challenge. Quantum systems, they're delicate, prone to those errors, right? Scaling up without sacrificing performance, that's a big one.
So no quantum computers on our desks next year.
Not quite, not quite. Lots of work ahead, but the progress, it's undeniable. And the pace, it's accelerating.
This is where it gets really interesting. We've talked tech, but the bigger picture, right?
Hmm.
What does this mean for society, for geopolitics, I mean, the future?
That's the question, isn't it? A lot of layers to unpack there. On the one hand, this tech, it could solve some of our biggest problems.
Right.
But it also brings up some serious questions: ethics, security.
So it's not just about the science. It's about how we as a society choose to use it. This future, it's full of possibilities, but also risks.
It really is, yeah, a double-edged sword. It's on us to figure out how to use this responsibly.
Okay, so we've got the chip, the potential, the challenges, but how does it actually work? This continuous variable entanglement. Can you break it down?
Sure. So imagine, right, you have two photons, two tiny particles of light, and they're linked, but in a very specific way. And when you measure something about one, let's say its brightness, you immediately know the same thing about the other one, even if they're, I don't know, miles apart.
It's like they have this instant connection, a secret language
Yeah.
that goes beyond like space and time.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so powerful for cryptography.
Yeah.
Someone tries to listen in on those entangled photons. Well, they disrupt the connection. The sender and the receiver, they know instantly something's wrong.
Like a built-in alarm. Hey, someone's snooping. I can see why it's basically unhackable.
Yeah, it's a whole new level of security, something we haven't seen before. It's like a lock that changes its combination every time someone tries to pick it.
Okay, so that's the unhackable communication, but we've also talked about quantum computing. How do these entangled photons turn into those superpowered calculations?
Well, we're harnessing the strangeness of the quantum world, right? Quantum computers, they can exist in multiple states at the same time. It's called superposition.
So instead of just being a 0 or 1, it can be both. at the same time.
And everything in between. It's
Yeah.
pretty wild. And that's just one of the principles that quantum computers use. It's a completely different way to think about computation.
I'm starting to get why people call this a paradigm shift. It's not just faster, it's a whole new approach to solving problems. What kind of problems are we talking about?
The kind that would take, well, regular computers, billions of years, maybe even longer. Imagine simulating complex molecules to design new drugs, new materials, or breaking the codes that protect our data online.
It's amazing. But what if this technology gets into the wrong hands?
That's a big one, for sure. This power, it could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, clean energy, but it could also be used to create, well, very powerful weapons.
Yeah.
Or to crack the codes that protect our most sensitive information.
So it's not just about the science, it's about the responsibility that comes with this power.
Exactly. And it's a global responsibility, right? No one nation can control this. It needs international cooperation to make sure it's used for good.
It sounds like we're in uncharted territory, scientifically and ethically.
We are. We are. And it's important to have these conversations now while it's still developing. Think about the consequences work together to shape a future where it benefits all of humanity.
We've covered a lot. This chip, how it works, the potential, good and bad. Where do we go from here? What does the future of quantum tech look like?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Hard to say for sure, but we can explore some scenarios. Imagine a world where quantum computers are as common as laptops are today.
That's a big leap. What would that even look like?
We could see personalized medicine tailored to your genes, materials with properties we can barely imagine changing everything, energy storage, transportation.
It's a world almost unrecognizable from today. But what about the risks?
Well, imagine what widespread quantum computers would mean for cybersecurity, current encryption methods. Obsolete overnight. Governments, businesses, they'd need to scramble, find new ways to protect their data.
So there'd be winners and losers in this quantum revolution.
Without a doubt. And it's important to think about who those might be and how to minimize the negative impacts.
Yeah, it feels like we're standing on the edge of something huge, exciting, but yeah, a little scary too.
I know what you mean. And it's not just, governments, big companies. This tech, it could affect, well, all of us in a big way.
This isn't just like a science experiment, right? This is about how we talk to each other, how we work, how we live.
That's it. Exactly. Think about the internet, right?
Yeah.
How it changed everything. Quantum tech.
Yeah.
It could be even more disruptive.
Okay, so paint me a picture. This quantum future, what does it look like? What are the everyday impacts?
With healthcare, for one. Imagine diagnosing and treating diseases at the molecular level using quantum sensors to see things, changes in our bodies we can't even detect now.
Personalized medicine based on your unique genes. That's incredible.
It is. It is. And not just treatment, right? Quantum computers, they could speed up drug discovery, find new cures for diseases that are incurable now.
That's a total game changer. What about other areas like transportation, energy? How could this impact them?
Imagine cars that drive themselves, but with a level of safety and efficiency we can't even imagine now, using those quantum sensors to navigate any environment, or quantum batteries, storing way more energy, powering our homes and cities with clean energy.
A world that's cleaner, healthier, more efficient. It's amazing. But let's be real, right? There have to be downsides. What are the potential negative impacts?
Of course, you're right. No tech is perfect. One big concern is job displacement. As quantum computers get more powerful, they could start doing jobs that, well, humans do now, which could lead to, unemployment in certain areas.
So we need to be thinking about how to prepare people for a workforce that relies on these quantum skills.
Absolutely. We need to invest in education, training, make sure people have the skills they need to succeed in this quantum world.
And what about misuse? We talked about it a bit, but it's a big one. This tech, in the wrong hands, could be really dangerous.
Yeah, it's a valid concern. Imagine someone using quantum computers to break the encryption. That protects everything. Financial systems, military secrets, our personal data. We need safeguards, ways to prevent it from being used for bad things.
So international treaties, ethical guidelines, a whole new way to govern this technology, that's a huge task.
It is. But it's essential. We can't afford to ignore it. The stakes are just too high.
So wrapping up this deep dive, I'm feeling a mix of awe and apprehension, I guess. It's clear this tech, it could change our world in ways we can't even fully grasp yet.
It's true, and it's up to all of us to make sure those changes are good ones. It'll take collaboration, thinking ahead, and being willing to face those tough ethical
All right, it's
questions.
been incredible. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, helping us make sense of all this.
Happy to do it. And remember, this is a conversation that needs to keep going. We all need to stay informed, stay engaged, and be ready to help shape this quantum future.
Well said. And to our listeners, keep those minds curious and stay tuned as we keep exploring these frontiers of science and tech right here on The Deep Dive.